Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. For those that are new, welcome. My name is Brittany. I'm an artist, designer, illustrator, and muralist based in El Paso, Texas. And in today's video, I am going to be doing a voiceover, something different. So you won't be seeing my face throughout the vid, but I will be putting a lot of videos of me working on a few projects. So here we go.
Hey guys, thank you all for tuning in to another video. So today I wanted to discuss briefly on the type of paint that I use and overall my experience with using them. So I started using regular acrylic paint from Hobby Lobby, Michaels, and Blick. But I did use a few from the art store. But then I realized I wanted to try something different, and that's when I walked into both Home Depot and Lowe's and decided to pick out a few sample colors from the band Bear and Valspar. And let me tell you guys, Bear and Valspar on canvas is unlike anything I've ever used before. It applies so smoothly and the painting overall looks phenomenal. It gives off great results, and I totally recommend using house paint. And a lot of artists I see ask what paint should they use. And from my opinion, I think it's more so experimenting and going with what flows for you. Because in the beginning for me, I asked the same question and I was a bit confused because there were so many options out there. And of course, looking at other artists' work, you tend to get curious and try to figure out what would be the best way to continue painting on your canvases. So at this point in time, I'm going to strongly suggest that you all find your way through it and experiment to see what works best for you. And like I said, from my experience, I have never used house paint until I walked in to Home Depot and Lowe's and decided why not just buy a small sample size of a few colors. And at both Home Depot and Lowe's, what's great about the paint is that they are so cheap. I mean, for a small container of paint, it costs $3. So I still have paint, which I will be linking so you guys can see. I still have those small sample size paints, and they've been sitting in my studio for months now. So they last a very long time. But one thing to keep in mind that I did not keep in mind before is to make sure that you close them tightly, because if any amount of air that gets into them, it gets dry and it ends up getting sticky and rubbery. So just make sure that, if you do decide to use interior, the house paint, to make sure that you're closing them. But yeah, other than that, the paint is great, and I still use a blend of Blick paint. But yeah, so I think, like, all in all, if you guys were curious on what paints you should use, I would try all of the paints that are in the art stores and do a comparison and see what flows for you, because only you would know. And a lot of people have different ways of going about paints and how it applies to the surface. So for example, for the interior house paint, I only use that for my really large scale canvases because number one, it's very cost effective, and number two, the colors go on easily. And since I do create my own canvases from scratch, I always sand the surface, that way it's not rough. But as soon as I sand the surface and apply the paint, it is beautiful. It's so smooth and the painting overall just looks great. So I love using the interior house paint for my canvases. For the smaller canvases, I would use the smaller bottles from Michaels or from Hobby Lobby. and whatever else I have in the studio. So yeah, it all depends on the size. And for example, my clothing, I obviously don't use interior house paint. I'll use textile paint. Yeah, so I usually I use a variety. So yeah, there's not really a specific paint you should use. I think it's all about experimentation and going with what works for you. And yeah, that's all for today. So if you guys have any questions or suggestions on what videos I should post, please let me know, and I'll see you soon. Bye.